Today we're gonna make the most amazing chocolate chip scones. They are tender and moist and they're not cakey and they're never dry. Oh, they're absolutely amazing. You are gonna love these scones. If you're enjoying this video, hit subscribe below and be sure to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new and delicious recipe. Let's get into it. Chocolate chip scones. Okay, so really easy. I know I say that all the time, but I swear this stuff is so easy. We're gonna put all our dry ingredients in one bowl. So I've got AP flour here. I've got sugar, baking powder, kosher salt, do not omit, in. And that's it. We're gonna take our paddle and we're gonna mix that up a little bit just to kind of get that to disperse. It's not necessary, but you know. And then we're gonna add butter. So it's cold and cubed. I actually just kind of cut along the tablespoon lines, so there's really no need to actually make a cube. No one's checking. Okay, and then we're gonna put that in our stand mixer. You can make this in a hand mixer if you have the patience. So anyways, put your mixer on low, and we're gonna let that cut in completely. And what I mean by that is no visible bits of butter that are still in there, no pieces. You want it all in the flour. So you want every bit of flour to be coated with the butter, and that is what is going to make it a nice tender scone and not, you know, dry or crumbly or, you know, sad. Meanwhile, because you know I cannot stop moving, I'm going to whisk together all of our wet ingredients because we're going to put those all in at one time. So I've got eggs here, and I've got heavy cream and vanilla. And then we are going to whisk all of those together. You can do this with an immersion blender. That's what I do with like big batches. You know, but this works just fine. You just want the eggs to be completely incorporated, right? So you don't want any streaks, because the easier it is for this to get into your mixture, the less gluten you're gonna have, the less tough and chewy your scones are gonna be, and the more tender and delightful. And now that's ready. It's gonna take like 15 minutes, so like maybe, I don't know, do the dishes or something. Catch half of a Netflix. It's been forever, and we're back. So our dry ingredients have completely cut into the butter, which means that there's no visible pieces of butter, and like the flour has been completely coated, and it kind of changes color a little bit. So our dry ingredients are totally cut in, everything's happy in there, and we are going to start to add our wet mixture, right? So just turn it on low. The key is not to overmix, but you don't want to overwhelm the batter either. So you just want to kind of slowly drizzle it in there and let it gradually mix in. It's going to have a tendency to pool in the center, so I try and pour on the outside. And you don't want it to totally mix in, right? You know, you don't want to have a cohesive dough in there. Otherwise, you're going to have a, you know, a very tough scone. So let me just, you know, hate messes. So I've got my scone mixture here. Let me move this so you can see what I'm doing. Bowl scraper, and just kind of get this off of our paddle. Okay, and then we're going to take this and we're going to put it out onto the counter. You're like, what? Come on. I know, but like, just do it. Okay, so get that in there, and by in there I mean out of there. So we've got our dough right here, and I'm just going to kind of try and like, you know, I don't want to like totally knead it, all right? I want to, you know, gently, lovingly work the rest of that flour in, right? This is messy. We're all here for a little mess, right? This is grown-up stuff. So it's not quite all together, but I want to add my chocolate chips first. You're like, that's a lot of chocolate chips. And I know. I know. So, you know, put them in there and just kind of work them in the dough. You could do this in the mixer, but where's the fun at? Okay, maybe I got a little aggressive with the chocolate chips, huh? I was like, maybe we can put an extra quarter cup in there. No. No, you can't. That's fine. We're fine. So, okay, so These are, I mean, they're Ghirardelli. They're like the pistoles. They're not like total chocolate chips. You use whatever you have. This is what I had in my cabinet. And you know me, like whatever I have is what we're using. So, which means that you totally can do that too. We are gonna get this into plastic wrap and we're gonna chill it, okay? You know, with my blueberry scones, I kind of cut them, I put it into a rectangle, and you know, we're not gonna do that here. We're gonna make kind of like a round and like cut triangles, just because we are versatile. So take your scone dough. We still want to be like gentle with her, right? Like we don't want to be like all aggressive and developing that gluten and making tough scones. No. So press it out, right? Just give it, you know, kind of try and keep it into a circle, right? And about, you know, it's 3/4 of an inch. I like fat scones, like chubby fat scones, right? So there she is. And now we're gonna wrap her up and pop her in the fridge. Probably about 2 hours. You can also kind of pre-cut and then freeze, and you can bake directly from frozen. I know. Welcome to your new favorite breakfast. So we're just gonna wrap this up, pop her in, and then we'll check back in. Guess what? It has been 2 hours and our dough is chilled and we are ready to bake it. I mean, I'm stoked. Okay, so we are gonna do this the lazy way, which is also the fewer dishes cleanup way, which is, you know, my favorite. So I've got myself a baking sheet. I've got parchment paper underneath, and I am going to cut my circle into, you know, like a pizza. These make generous sized scones, okay? Like really generous. Perhaps too much. And we're done. So I really think, you know, some of these could use just a little extra chocolate chippage on top. It's a technical term. And, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and put some on there. All right, next step, place on baking sheet. Now you could keep them in that shape, but honestly, that's not going to do justice on my bake. Like it's not gonna bake as evenly that way, so there's literally no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing on my baking sheet right now, in case you were wondering. I don't know. And now we're ready to, okay, you can bake them like this, but you know, more is more over here. So I'm gonna brush them with a little bit of heavy cream. Nobody said this was like a healthy breakfast, right? Everyone knows that this is not healthy. So let's just lean into it. Leaning in. So just go ahead and give it a nice little brush. Doo-doo-doo. This recipe makes 12. Yeah, I know. And then a little bit of turbinado sugar for the visual, textural appeal, and also just like a little extra sweetness on top. I know. It's so pretty when it's done, so it's like really hard to omit. And then we're gonna bake it. 325 convection. You know, these fat ones are probably gonna take close to 15 minutes. Normally it'd be like, you know, 12, 10 to 12. So our scones are out. So about after like 12 minutes, I pulled the small ones off and let the big ones kind of keep cooking. So just know that if you make 12, then they'll cook about like 12 minutes. And if you make 8 really chubby scones, then they'll bake close to 20. So, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with having 8 chubby scones. You know, I'm eating one of those. So now, sadly, we have to let them cool. At least like a little bit. Otherwise you're just gonna burn your mouth with the chocolate and it's gonna be sad. So, no sadness. Patience. Just a little bit of patience. Oh, they smell so good. Whew. I can do this. You can do this. Okay. The moment is here. It is time to try. I'm excited. You should be excited. Yeah. Do you see this little thing? It's so pretty. Packed with chocolate chips. Packed. Yes. OMG. Just go ahead and like bust that open. Do you see in there how it is soft and tender and like it's not too cakey and it's not dry? God, I'm so excited. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. It's moist and tender, and the chocolate chips are still a little melty, and so they're like perfect. The semi-sweet chocolate pairs really nicely with kind of like a less sweet scone. Oh, amazing.